No DQ Galaxy, we are live. It is Saturday night. It's all right for fighting. Let's talk about AEW Collision for August 12th, 2023. We kicked off the show with some footage shown from last week, which was the collision that went up against SummerSlam. On that show, CM Punk faced Ricky Starks. Ricky Steamboat was the outside enforcer, but Steamboat ended up preventing Starks from cheating. Punk won the match, and then afterwards, Starks used Steamboat's belt and whipped him with it. Tony Schiavone interviewed Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks had the belt that he used on Steamboat. It was revealed that Starks is suspended for 30 days from competing in AEW. Starks said that he did what he had to do. Regardless of your age, there are consequences, and because Steamboat cost him the match, he had to take care of Steamboat, even though he loves the guy. Starks said that he did get a manager's license, so we will be seeing him for the next 30 days despite the suspension. Starks said that Collision is his show and people will respect him. He said that the blood, what happened to Steamboat, is on CM Punk's hands, and Starks said that he will be setting AEW on fire starting next week. Good promo here from Starks, although I'm curious as to why he's not wrestling at Allin. A 30-day suspension would seemingly mean he's not wrestling at Allin or All Out for that matter. Is he injured? Is that the real reason? And this is a storyline to keep him on TV, have him be a manager for the next month. Regardless of what it is, I have to say I'm a little disappointed if Starks is in fact not having a match at either of those events. Two major events, Allin, arguably the biggest AEW pay-per-view to date, and he does not have a match on the card. Very unfortunate, regardless of what the situation is. We had our first match of the evening, which was the Acclaimed versus the Iron Savages. Now, I thought this was just going to be a quick squash match, but these Iron Savages, they brought a fight. They got in more offense than I was expecting. They kind of remind me of Heavy Machinery back when Otis was in his old tag team. There was one big guy, kind of reminded me of Otis in a way, who was very powerful. He actually got both Acclaimed members up and slammed them down at the same time. You had the Iron Savages double teaming Bowens for a while. Caster actually had to make the save. Caster got the hot tag, lifted up the big guy, picked him up, and dropped him. Acclaimed were able to build up the momentum, and they did score the pinfall victory. And then after the match, they had the boots of Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is retired, and they said that Billy is with them in spirit. They're vowing to regain the tag team titles, and they had the fans salute Billy Gunn with the scissoring. There you have it. The Acclaimed back on the hunt for the AEW tag team titles. Basically a showcase match for these guys. We had a backstage promo with the Bullet Club along with the Guns, and they called themselves the most elite version of the Bullet Club ever. The Guns ended up challenging the Young Bucks to a match on Dynamite. Now, one of the matches rumored for All Out is involving the Elite and Bullet Club Gold. We'll see if that's the direction they're going. And one would think with only a couple of weeks left until All In, you really need to start building up All Out, which is the week after All In. Seems like this could be a direction for that. We then had Willow Nightingale and the TBS champion Kris Statlander versus Mercedes Martinez and Diamante. Pretty basic tag team match here. The heels got in quite a bit of offense. Mercedes ended up launching her own partner basically with a razor's edge over the top rope onto Willow and Statlander. And then Willow got back in the ring, hit the pounce, period. Then things started to break down, and Diamante actually dropped an F-bomb right in the middle of this match. Mercedes was on the verge of being pinned, but then she reversed it. And then Diamante on the outside of the ring, this was the old Usos trick, used her feet, pressed up against Mercedes' back to provide some leverage, and the heels actually won. I was not expecting this. I did not expect to see Mercedes and Diamante picking up the win here. I'm also a little surprised that Willow Nightingale is not in a higher profile position, like maybe in that fatal four-way match, or at least being a contender, considering that she won the Owen Hart tournament. Very interesting here, the outcome of this. We had Toni Storm interviewed backstage, and she said that she was feeling better because she was depressed for a while, but she's feeling better now that she has her rematch for All In, and she said she's going to get a fair fight at Wembley Stadium. TJS isn't happy about CM Punk wearing political clothing. Well, I feel like, let me ask you this, TJS, if he wore something that you agreed with, would you have a different opinion? Just wondering. Like if he had a Donald Trump 2024 shirt, would you be complaining about it? Just asking. We had Samoa Joe versus Andrew Everett, and I guess his gimmick is that he thinks he's a giant. He has Andre the Giant ring gear. Not sure what his deal is, but this was basically a squash match. Samoa Joe did beat him pretty quickly with his submission. And after the match was over, he cut a promo. He said that CM Punk has not answered his challenge. He wants the answer of a champion, but he was met with defying silence of a coward. He said that CM Punk claims to be the real world champion, but he's just a real bitch. And he said he asked. He tried to be nice by asking, and now he has to convince CM Punk. This was a good promo by Samoa Joe, but at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, why did CM Punk not answer him? Like, it's either a yes or a no. But I guess maybe if CM Punk is kind of like in this tweener role right now, he just doesn't have to answer. He does what he feels like. I guess that's what CM Punk's character is at this point. But then he wears these T-shirts that seem to be making a statement or stating an opinion, whatever you want to call it. We had Christian Cage with the TNT champion, Luchosaurus, and Christian talked about the city they were in, Greensboro, North Carolina, being the biggest family reunion. And he said they're all pretty much related. He talked about how he is superior to Ric Flair and anybody in North Carolina. Christian was really trying. He was even busting out the ripping into the sports teams, not getting as much heat as he usually does for whatever reason. He talked about Darby Allin, how Darby will never touch the TNT Championship again. We then had Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson interrupting. Arn Anderson brought up how North Carolina is horseman country. And Christian said normally he doesn't issue open challenges, but he was going to make an exception. And Brock Anderson answered the open challenge against Luchosaurus. I mean, I don't think anybody on planet Earth thought that Brock Anderson had any chance of winning here. And spoiler, he did not. He did get in a little bit of offense, but Luchosaurus won fairly easily. And then afterwards, Darby Allin showed up, attacked Luchosaurus with a skateboard, and Darby ended up challenging Christian to a match on next week's Collision, which Christian did accept. And this is pretty standard build-up leading into Darby Allin challenging Luchosaurus for the TNT title at All Out. They actually do have a match set for All Out. And we might have a second match, which we'll get to here in a few moments. We had Tony Schiavone interviewing Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hobbs had the book of Hobbs, an actual physical book, and he's on the chapter of redemption. He called out the Redeemer. In order to get redemption, you have to call out the Redeemer. Miro came out there. He was attacked by Nick Camarado and Aaron Solo. Excuse me. Miro, of course, fought back, took out these scrubs, and then Hobbs took down Miro with a spine buster. And then he took the book of Hobbs and dropped it on the chest of Miro. Looks like we have a second match set up for All Out. Miro versus Hobbs. I'm a little confused because I thought Hobbs just turned babyface. I guess that's done. That's not happening. They've reversed that. I'm not really sure what's going on. I did watch Collision on DVR, but I must have missed something because I thought Will Hobbs was a babyface now. Anyways, should be a good match though. Two big guys, meaty men slapping meat, as Big E might say. Both guys need the win, as Matthew pointed out, so it's going to be interesting to see how they book this one. I mean, really, Hobbs should be winning at this point because you're trying to build to the future, but if Miro loses, then what? I mean, I suppose he can lose with the outside interference. And whatever happened to Wardlow? Wardlow just fell off the face of the earth. Jim Ross came to the ring for the main event. CM Punk and FTR challenging the House of Black for the Trios tag team titles. Apparently, JR had some travel issues and almost did not make the show. A very mixed reaction to CM Punk. And they got a long main event here, about 30 minutes for the main event. They started off slow-paced, feeling out process, all that stuff. You had CMFTR trying to double or triple team the big man Brody King. They did manage to get him out of the ring at one point, and Brody was pissed off. Malachi had to calm him down so they could regroup. Malachi and CM Punk went at it for a bit. CM Punk taunted Malachi by doing the sit-down pose, and then all 6 guys got in the ring. We had a huge brawl with all 6 of them. We had our first commercial break. House of Black worked over Dax for a while, but then CM Punk tagged in, and Punk started to build up some momentum for his team. Could not hit the GTS, though, and then Julia Hart got on the apron, and while the referee was distracted, Black knocked Punk off the top rope. They worked over Punk for a while. We had our second break, and then CM Punk was finally able to hit the GTS to Matthews. He tagged out. FTR came in, started cleaning house. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," but they could not finish off Brody King. They tried a double superplex. CM Punk came off with the flying elbow, but Brody kicked out. And then they triple teamed him with the Shatter Machine. But then Black and Matthews got back in the ring. And then with everybody down, Samoa Joe showed up at ringside. He choked out CM Punk. He brought CM Punk over the barricade and put him to sleep on the floor by the fans. And you had Julia Hart getting on the apron for a distraction. And then Brody King hit the lariat and scored the pinfall victory over Dax Harwood. No real surprise here. I mean, the whole Samoa Joe promo basically telegraphed how this match was going to play out. He was going to take care of CM Punk, and that he did. They're building up CM Punk versus Samoa Joe for All In, and maybe now CM Punk will answer the challenge. They tried to explain that CM Punk was preoccupied with the trios titles, and that's why he could not answer Samoa Joe's challenge. I mean, whatever. I mean, I could see the angle where CM Punk is, kind of in that tweener mode right now and doesn't feel like answering challenges. Show was good. Did not blow me away, though, like the Collision from a few weeks ago. It was very solid. And, they did build up seemingly another match for All Out, but I feel like they really need to do more. They did hype up some of the All In matches, but I still think with only like 3 weeks left until 2 shows, you really got to start doing some heavy angles to build up these matches. And I felt like it was still moving kind of at a slow pace while you got such massive events coming up in just a few weeks. So I will give the show a B-. It was pretty solid. And I don't know why MJF hasn't said anything about CM Punk. Again, they're moving at a slow pace here, but they're running out of time. It's not like these pay-per-views are 2 months away. You got 2 major back-to-back pay-per-views that you want people to pay $50 each for. You really need to start moving at a faster pace here and doing some strong build for these matches. You got 2 cards you have to sell. And, it feels like they're really waiting until the last minute here to build up these angles. Now, of course, they could do something at All In that sets up matches for All Out. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I think Collision might have actually been the bottom. Like, Raw was really good. Dynamite was really good. SmackDown was pretty good. And Collision was good. But yeah, I think maybe Collision was the weakest of the 4 major shows this week, but still a perfectly acceptable 2-hour show. That's all I got to say about Collision. Thank you all for tuning in on this Saturday night. I will be back Sunday night with the No DQ review, Virtue and Company. We'll have a lot to talk about. Busy week here coming off of SummerSlam, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.